For over 5 decades, Baltimore has been known for its bloodshed. It was a city once drowning in crime statistics, police sirens. But in 2025, something happened that no one expected. Baltimore is now on track to record its fewest homicides in 50 years. Today, we're telling the story behind that miracle. Not just numbers, but the people, the pain, the progress, and the promise of a new era. This is not just a problem. This is Baltimore's record and its rebirth. Baltimore's struggle with violence didn't start yesterday. It's been a slow, painful burn. Back in the 1970s, the city was already beginning to feel the strain of economic decline, white flight, and urban neglect. By the 1980s, the crack cocaine epidemic hit, and the violence exploded. Through the 1990s and early 2000s, Baltimore will consistently rank among the most dangerous cities in the United States. At times, the homicide count topped 300 per year. Entire neighborhoods were gripped by fear. Children grew up learning to hit the floor when gunshots rang out. Communities turned inwards. Families mourned weekly. In 2015, the death of Freddie Gray, an unarmed black man fatally injured in police custody, ignited massive protests. Trust between law enforcement and the community completely broke down. Then came 2019, with 348 murders. Baltimore recorded one of its deadliest years in history. The city was one of America's murder capital. And it seemed like things would never change. But under the surface, change was beginning to stay. By 2022, local activists, religious leaders, and former gang members began organizing in new ways. The city administration took notice. Mayor Lynette Hall, Baltimore's fictional but symbolic leader in our dramatization, took a bold stance. We needed to change the conversation, she said. We couldn't keep chasing crime after the fact. We needed to start preventing it. The city invested in community-based violence prevention programs. The police department, under new leadership, began prioritizing relationship-based policing. One major initiative was called PeaceLink. It wasn't about sending more officers into neighborhoods. It was about sending the right people, the trusted voices, the respected elders, the former enemies turned mentors. Baltimore also turned to technology. Data scientists, working alongside the police and community groups, used AI to identify neighborhoods most vulnerable to outbreaks of violence. They didn't just send officers. They sent mediators, counselors, mental health professionals, and most importantly, they followed up. Meanwhile, programs like Safe Streets, staffed by people who had once been on the streets themselves, were preventing hundreds of conflicts from turning deadly. One former gang member, now a Safe Streets ambassador, said this: "I used to pull the trigger. Now I stop the shooting. We ain't perfect, but we're fighting for the next generation." By early 2025, something incredible became clear. Baltimore was no longer the city it had been. The murder rate had fallen by 23% compared to the previous year. And not just in one area, but citywide. Places like Sandtown, Winchester, long plagued by gun violence, were recording months without a single homicide. In just 5 months, Baltimore saw 112 homicides. That's still 112 lives lost, but it's also the lowest 5-month total in half a century. Tamika Rollins, a mother and activist, told us, "I used to bury my friends. Now, I'm watching their kids graduate." Her story is one of thousands. We spoke with a local pastor who said he used to preach over 3 funerals a week. Now, 1 a month. And we spoke with police officers, men and women who once felt like enemies in their own city, who now say they feel hope when they put on the badge. Detective Raymond Carter said, "Something's changed. People want peace now, and we're finally listening." But not everyone believes the numbers tell the full story. Critics argue that some violence is simply going unreported. Others fear that crime is moving, not disappearing. Professor James Mendoza from Johns Hopkins said, "We must be careful not to confuse temporary decline with permanent progress." The city still faces massive inequality, unemployment, addiction, and housing crisis. And it is right, Baltimore still is challenging, still has movements, but for once, it's healing. Baltimore's story is not just local, it's national. Other cities, like St. Louis, Detroit, and Chicago are watching and learning, because what's happening in Baltimore isn't just about law enforcement. It's about partnerships. It's about prevention. It's about purpose. It's about a city that refused to be defined by its past. The real test? Sustainability. Will the funding last? Will trust continue to grow? Will young people continue to choose? We don't have all the answers, but we do have one clear signal. Baltimore is changing, and if this change continues, it may just become the blueprint for the rest of the country. There's a quote by Dr. Cornel West that says, "Justice is what love looks like." And maybe, just maybe, that's what's starting to happen. In the city of bloodshed, one block, one family, one life,